Welcome to the Deep Dive. You know how it is you're trying to get a handle on something important, but, well, the sheer volume of information out there can feel overwhelming.
It really can.
That's precisely why we're here. We sift through it all and bring you the core insights, the stuff that really matters, in a way that's clear and hopefully, even a little bit engaging. And for our very first deep dive, we're tackling something truly foundational, something that has quietly influenced how countless people think about well-being and the inner life. Patanjali's Yoga Sutras.
Indeed. A fascinating text. Composed way back, maybe around the 2nd century CE, the Yoga Sutras are, well, a seminal text in yoga philosophy.
Okay.
Think of them as a comprehensive and systematic exploration of the human condition and the path to self-realization, or what's traditionally called liberation.
Liberation, right.
The text is structured into 4 chapters, and while each offers profound insights, we're going to concentrate today on the 2nd chapter, known as Satanapada.
Satanapada.
Yes, this is really the practical heart of the sutras, because it's here that Patanjali lays out the 8 limbs of yoga, or Ashtanga yoga. That's our primary focus for this initial dive.
Okay, so for many people probably, when they hear yoga, their minds jump straight to the physical postures, the stretches, the poses you might see in a class or online.
Absolutely, that's the common perception.
And that's understandable. It's a very visible part of modern yoga. But what's so compelling about delving into the Yoga Sutras is discovering this much, much broader framework.
Exactly.
Our mission with this deep dive isn't just to understand some ancient history. It's really to grasp the enduring gravity of these teachings, particularly these 8 limbs. It's about seeing yoga not just as something you do with your body, but as, well, a comprehensive approach to living a balanced and deeply purposeful life.
Yeah.
You might be surprised by just how profoundly these ancient principles can still resonate today.
Absolutely. The 8 limbs provide a really elegant structure. It's somewhat step-by-step, yet also very interconnected for this journey. It moves beyond just the physical body to encompass our ethical framework, our personal disciplines, and ultimately our spiritual understanding. It's a truly holistic perspective that acknowledges these different dimensions of being human and how they influence each other.
So we're starting right at the beginning, foundational stuff. Where does this journey through the 8 limbs actually begin?
The journey commences with the Yamas. This is the first of the 8 limbs, and it essentially lays the groundwork with universal ethical guidelines. These inform how we interact with the world and, importantly, with each other. There are 5 Yamas.
Right then. Let's hear these foundational ethical principles. What are they? Lay them out for us.
Okay. The first is ahimsa. It's most often translated as nonviolence. But it's crucial to understand that this extends far beyond just physical acts. It encompasses non-harming in our thoughts, in our speech, and yes, in our actions towards all living beings. Then we have satya, which means truthfulness.
Truthfulness.
Yes, and this isn't just about stating facts. It's about an alignment between our words and our inner reality, living in accordance with truth. The third is asteya, or non-stealing.
Non-stealing. Seems straightforward.
Well, yes and no. While it certainly includes not taking physical possessions that aren't ours, it also has a broader implication. Not taking unfair advantage, respecting the efforts and contributions of others, even being mindful of the resources we consume.
That's a fascinating expansion of the idea. Beyond just material objects, it makes you consider the subtle ways we might take, maybe from others, without even realizing it.
Precisely. It's quite profound when you unpack it. The 4th yama is brahmacharya, a concept that's often perhaps narrowly interpreted as chastity or celibacy.
Right, I've heard that interpretation.
However, a more nuanced understanding, particularly in this context, points towards the appropriate and conscious use of our vital energy.
Energy? How so?
It's about moderation, really, in all our activities and directing our energy towards our spiritual growth and our higher purpose, rather than dissipating it aimlessly.
Okay, that makes more sense in this broader context. And the last one.
And finally, we have aparigraha, or non-possessiveness. This encourages us to cultivate a sense of detachment from material things, to avoid greed and hoarding, and to recognize the impermanent nature of possessions.
So these are the yamas of the fundamental ethical principles guiding our behavior in the world. What strikes me is just how incredibly relevant these still feel today. You mentioned modern interpretations. Could you give us a few more examples of how these ancient ideas might play out now?
Certainly. Think about ahimsa, nonviolence. Consider it in the context of our modern discussions around, say, animal welfare, ethical consumption, or even in our online interaction.
Oh, online, yeah.
How easily can we cause harm with our words, even unintentionally? Then satya, truthfulness, takes on a whole new dimension in our age of digital information, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Misinformation.
Exactly. Discerning truth from falsehood is a constant challenge. Consider the impact and the responsibility we have in sharing information honestly. Asteya, non-stealing, really makes you think about things like intellectual property, the ethics of using open source materials, or even our data privacy.
Data privacy, interesting connection.
Are we taking someone's information without proper consent or understanding? And aparigraha, non-possessiveness, speaks directly to our consumer-driven society. How much do we truly need, and what is the psychological impact of our attachment to material possessions?
Those connections really bring these ancient principles to life, right into the 21st century. Okay, so that's the first limb, Yama, the ethical foundation. What follows that?
The second limb is niyama. This shifts the focus from our outward behavior, our interactions, to our inner world, our personal observances and practices that foster self-growth and inner discipline. Again, there are 5 niyamas.
Right, okay. Personal disciplines. Let's hear about these.
The first is saucha. This translates to cleanliness encompassing both external physical purity and, crucially, internal mental clarity.
So body and mind.
Exactly. This could range from our personal hygiene to cultivating a clean and uncluttered mental space. Then we have santosha, which is contentment.
Contentment. That sounds nice.
It is. It's about learning to find peace and acceptance in our present circumstances, regardless of external conditions. Tapas is the third, often described as austerity, discipline, or even spiritual fire.
Spiritual fire. I like that.
It involves the self-discipline and consistent effort we put into our practices, sometimes pushing through comfort zones to achieve growth.
So it's about that inner drive and commitment, maybe, even when things get challenging.
Exactly. It's about cultivating that inner strength through consistent practice. The fourth niyama is svadhyaya, or self-study.
Self-study, like introspection.
Yes, precisely. It involves introspection, a conscious exploration of our own nature, but also the study of sacred texts, wisdom traditions, or really anything that deepens our self-understanding. And the final niyama is ishvara pranitana. This is often translated as surrender to a higher power, devotion, or perhaps recognizing a guiding intelligence beyond our individual selves.
Surrender. That's a powerful concept. Again, you can see how these personal practices are crucial for inner development and well-being. How might these manifest in our lives today?
Well, such a cleanliness can be reflected in our commitment to healthy habits, mindfulness around what we consume, both physically and mentally, and maybe creating a supportive environment around us.
Right, decluttering maybe.
That could be part of it, sure. Santosha, contentment, really speaks to the growing emphasis on mindfulness and gratitude practices, intentionally focusing on what we have rather than constantly striving for more.
Yeah, that feels very current.
And svadhyaya, self-study, could be anything from journaling and self-reflection to engaging in lifelong learning and exploring philosophical ideas.
Okay, so we've established the ethical guidelines, the yamas, and the personal observances, the niyamas. What comes next in this framework?
Ah, yes. Asana, the physical postures. This is the bit most readily associated with yoga, isn't it?
Precisely. That's usually what people think of first. Asana is the third limb, and it refers to the physical postures and movements that are often practiced in yoga classes. However, it's really important to understand the original context and the intention behind these postures within Patanjali's teachings.
Okay, so what was the original point?
The primary purpose of asana was to cultivate a state of steadiness and comfort in the body. Sthya Sukham Asanam is the sutra. It means steady and comfortable posture.
Steady and comfortable.
Yes, allowing one to sit for extended periods of meditation without physical discomfort or distraction.
So the intricate and sometimes, let's be honest, quite acrobatic poses we see so much of today weren't really the original focus. Not as the primary goal, no. While a vast array of asanas have certainly evolved over centuries, offering numerous physical and mental benefits, improved flexibility, strength, balance, focus, all that.
Sure.
The initial aim was much more about creating a stable and relaxed foundation for the deeper practices, like meditation. You can find loads of information on the multitude of asanas, of course.
Right. That offers a really interesting shift in perspective on what the physical practice of yoga is truly about.
Yeah.
Within this broader framework, at least.
Okay.
So after the physical postures comes pranayama, the fourth limb. What's involved there?
Pranayama is the practice of consciously regulating the breath. The word prana refers to our vital life force or energy, and ayama means to regulate, restrain, or extend.
Life force regulation, okay.
Therefore, pranayama encompasses various techniques designed to consciously control and direct our breath. You might have heard of some like ujjayi breath, sometimes called ocean breath, or nadi shodhana, which is alternate nostril breathing, and kumbhaka, breath retention.
Right.
These practices are believed to calm the nervous system, increase our energy levels, enhance mental clarity, and create a deeper connection to our inner state.
So it's about using the breath as a tangible tool, really, to influence our mental, emotional, and energetic states.
Exactly. And this limb acts as a crucial bridge. It connects the more external practices of the first three limbs, how we interact with the world, our ethics, our personal habits, our bodies, to the more internal and meditative limbs that follow.
Ah, okay. A bridge.
By consciously working with the breath, we begin to subtly influence the more subtle layers of our being.
Which then leads us, I suppose, to the fifth limb, pratyahara. This sounds like it involves a deeper level of inner work.
It does. Pratyahara is often described as sensory withdrawal or the intentional turning inward of our awareness.
Sensory withdrawal, like blocking things out.
Not quite blocking, more detaching. It's about consciously detaching our attention from the constant barrage of external stimuli, the things we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, and the habitual responses of our senses to them. Think of it as learning to quiet the external noise that constantly vies for our attention so that we can more clearly perceive our inner landscape, our thoughts, our feelings.
Right. Turning the focus inward.
This practice is a vital step in preparing for deeper states of meditation, as it begins to free the mind from its dependence on external distractions. Imagine trying to concentrate on a quiet thought when someone is constantly talking to you. Pratyahara is like learning to gently turn away from that external chatter.
Okay, so we're intentionally drawing our awareness inwards, reducing our reliance on the external world for our focus. What happens in the next stage? Where does that lead?
The sixth limb is dhyana, which is the practice of concentration. Single-pointed focus.
Concentration, okay.
This involves focusing the mind intently on a single point of attention. This focal point could be anything, really the breath, a mantra, which is a sacred sound or word, a visual image, the tip of your nose, a candle flame, any object chosen to steady the mind.
So picking one thing and sticking with it.
Exactly. The aim of dhyana is to cultivate the ability to hold our attention in one place for a sustained period, reducing the constant stream of thoughts and that mental wandering we all experience. It's about developing mental focus and stability, training the mind.
So pratyahara is about withdrawing from external distractions, getting quieter inside, and dhyana is about actively training the mind to focus once you're less distracted.
Yeah.
Then comes dhyana, the seventh limb, which I think most people understand as meditation itself.
Yes, dhyana is indeed meditation. But, importantly, within the context of the 8 limbs, it represents a deeper and more sustained state than dhyana.
How so? What's the difference?
Well, while dhyana is focused concentration on an object, often requiring effort to keep the mind there,
Right.
dhyana is characterized by a continuous, uninterrupted flow of attention towards that object of meditation, but without any forceful effort or struggle. It becomes more effortless.
Oh, okay. A flow state, almost.
You could say that. It's in this more absorbed state that deeper levels of inner peace, insight, and tranquility can be experienced. It's a sustained awareness.
And finally, we arrive at the 8th and ultimate limb, samadhi.
Yeah.
This sounds like the culmination of the entire yogic path, the real goal.
It is, according to the Sutras. Samadhi is often described as absorption, union, or a state of profound transcendence. It's the culmination of the yogic journey.
Wow.
It's where the individual consciousness is said to merge with the object of meditation, leading to a profound experience of oneness, interconnectedness, bliss, and a sense of unity with, well, everything. It's considered the ultimate goal of yoga, as outlined in the sutras, a state of liberation, kaivalya, and complete understanding.
That's quite a state to aim for, a comprehensive journey laid out through these 8 limbs. And it's important to recognize, you mentioned earlier, these aren't necessarily rigid sequential steps that you kind of conquer one by one, are they?
That's a really crucial point to understand, yes.
Well,
while they are often presented in this progressive order, and there's a logic to that progression, the 8 limbs are not intended to be viewed as strictly linear stages that you must fully master before moving on to the next. Think of them more as deeply interconnected and mutually supportive practices.
so they work together.
Exactly. They evolve and deepen in parallel. Progress in one limb can certainly support and enhance your journey in the others. You might work on your ethical conduct, Yama, and find it helps your concentration, Dharma, for instance. It's a holistic and integrated approach aimed at the gradual unfolding of human potential and consciousness.
You touched on the historical context earlier, the Yoga Sutras dating back to around the 2nd century CE. What was the primary aim or intention of this text back then? What problem was it trying to solve, so to speak?
That's a great question. The Yoga Sutras, as illuminated by historical studies and various scholars, primarily aimed at providing a systematic path to liberation, or kaivalya.
Kaivalya, liberation.
Which is essentially freedom from suffering and the cycle of rebirth, a major concern in Indian philosophies of the time. These 195 aphorisms, or sutras, offer a detailed roadmap, a practical methodology to achieve this state through disciplined practice and understanding.
So it's a how-to guide, in a sense.
In a very profound sense, yes. The text draws deeply from earlier Indian philosophical traditions, most notably Samkhya philosophy, which provides a theoretical framework for understanding the nature of reality and the human condition. There are also clear influences from early Buddhist thought, particularly around the cessation of suffering.
Interesting.
The fact that such a significant portion of the second chapter, the Satanapada 31 verses, actually is dedicated just to outlining these 8 limbs really underscores their central importance as the practical means to attain this ultimate goal of liberation.
And just to be really clear, it's also important to distinguish Patanjali's 8 limbs from the style of physical yoga known today as Ashtanga, right? Because that specific name is used for a very vigorous series of poses.
Yes, absolutely. That's a very important distinction to make and something often pointed out. Modern Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga, the system developed by K. Pattabhi Joy in the 20th century, is a dynamic and specific series of physical postures synchronized with breath. It's a powerful physical practice.
Right.
But Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga, Ashtanga literally meaning 8 limbs, the framework we've been discussing, has much deeper and broader meditative and philosophical roots.
So the emphasis is different.
Significantly different, yes. The emphasis in the original text of the Yoga Sutras is much more on the internal practices, the ethical discipline, the personal observances, the mental focus, the cultivation of inner awareness as the primary means to progress towards samadhi. The physical postures, asana, were originally intended, as we said, mainly to support the ability to sit comfortably for long periods of meditation.
Okay, that clarifies it nicely.
Yeah.
So to kind of bring it all together, this initial deep dive into Patanjali's Yoga Sutras and the 8 limbs reveals a far more comprehensive and, frankly, profound system than just physical exercise.
Absolutely. It's easy to miss that depth if you only encounter yoga physically.
It's a truly holistic framework. It encompasses ethical living, personal development, the cultivation of physical and energetic well-being through asana and pranayama, and ultimately a progressive path towards deeper states of consciousness, self-realization, and that idea of union, or samadhi.
It's really about understanding the nature of our own consciousness and ultimately transcending the limitations and patterns that cause suffering.
Precisely. And what's so remarkable, I think, is how these ancient principles continue to hold such relevance in our modern lives. They're not just historical artifacts. They offer profound and, importantly, practical guidance for navigating the complexities of human existence today.
They really do. Cultivating a more balanced, meaningful, and ultimately perhaps a more fulfilling life, the tools are right there in the text.
It truly gives you a lot to consider. So for you, the listener, as you go about your day, maybe take a moment to reflect. Which of these 8 limbs resonates most strongly with you right now?
Yeah, that's a great reflection point.
Perhaps it's the ethical considerations of Yama in your interactions. Or maybe it's that call to personal discipline within Yama. Or maybe even just the simple act of paying attention to your breath, pranayama. How might understanding this ancient framework offer you new perspectives on your own personal journey of growth, well-being, and perhaps even a deeper understanding of yourself? You might even start to notice the subtle ways these principles might already be at play in your daily experiences and the choices you make. Just observing.
And this is really just scratching the surface. This is the very beginning of our exploration. We've laid the foundational understanding of the 8 limbs in this initial deep dive.
Yeah, there's clearly a lot more here.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
In our future discussions, we'll be delving into specific aspects of the Yoga Sutras in much greater detail, building upon the groundwork we've established today. There's so much more to unpack and explore in this rich and truly timeless text.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining us for this very first deep dive into Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. We truly hope it's giving you a new appreciation for the depth, the breadth, and the enduring relevance of these ancient
I
teachings.
think so too.
We look forward to our next exploration into the ideas that shape our world and our inner lives. We'll catch you next time for more of The Deep Dive.